Welcome to the 8th week of this year's In Times, like these recap. Now let's get into this. Starting with Devante Torres, who arrives at Russo Jewelers with his son Pacho to confront Isidore and his son Alan Russo over the online rant he made against Devante. As for Pacho, he's surprised to see Vivian Jones, whom he met on Valentine's Day. She's surprised as well and leaves the two families alone in Isidore's office. Pacho tells the Russos that Theodosius's palace is what benefits his family, stating how anything that happens to the hotel affects the entire family, stating how he won't allow them to destroy the hotel. Isidore tells Devante and Pacho how the meeting is pointless, demanding that they leave. Before they do so, Devante tells Isidore that if they make another step, then they have a war on their hands. Once they walk out, Isidore states that if it's a war Devante wants, then it's a war he'll get. Pacho pleads with his father not to retaliate, but Devante states how that's up to the Russos. As they walk out, Vivian sees them, especially with Pacho catching her eye. Raymond Dorval brings his grandchildren JJ and Vanessa to the hospital and meets with Shelley, asking her how Jeremiah is doing. Shelley informs the family that Jeremiah was hit pretty hard during the hit and run. JJ, who is stressed about what he's heard, informs his mother how he knows that she and Jeremiah have been receiving threats after overhearing her speak with Jeremiah. Raymond assures the family that the family will pull through. He points out that since everyone in the family knows what's going on, they need to stick together and pray. The Dorvals circle as they pray for Jeremiah's recovery and that God would protect them. Just as Finnegan Burke is on the phone with his lover Harley Drake, Quinlan Franklin walks into his office, asking the police commissioner what he knows about the Danjuma crime family. Confused, he asks the reporter if she's doing a story on the crime family, who he feels hasn't been relevant for over the past 10 years. She begins to reveal to Finnegan that Adaku is the daughter of the late Kalu Danjuma, and that she took over the organization after Kalu passed away. He states how it makes sense as to why the substance use hasn't decreased, but increased, assuming that it was a rival organization that he just couldn't pinpoint. Quinlan explains that she certainly can't report on Adaku being Kalu's daughter, since Adaku is her boss, but that she could try to see if she can report on the drug usage in town. Finnegan questions if Adaku would greenlight it. Quinlan answers that it's worth a shot. Max receives texts from Yvette's Avenger, telling him to enjoy his last days of freedom. Soon, Johnny enters the room, and Max avoids looking at him. Johnny begins to wonder if Max is still upset over the fact that he's with Quinlan. Max tells his father how he's still upset about it, but tells Johnny how he's trying to get over it. Doing his best to communicate with his son, Johnny asks Max what's been bothering him, stating how he's been in a sour mood for over a week and barely speaking to anyone, and wonders if the trial is bothering him. Max reminds his father how it's still a he said, she said situation, and that he could still go to prison over Yvette's lies. Gianni tells Max that he has to be strong when the trial comes and not to feel defeated before a decision is even reached. Max questions if the decision will be reached when the jury sees him. Older, he's a guy, and the jury might just side with Yvette since she's younger and a small girl. All Gianni tells Max is that he needs to tell the truth, and Harley will handle the jury. Once alone, Max continues to read the text from Yvette's Avenger, stating that when Max is found guilty, there will be a huge celebration. When Quinlan walks into Adaku's office, Adaku asks Quinlan what she wants. Quinlan begins to explain how she's heard about the rise of substance use in Valley Park and wants to cover it. But Adaku denies the request, telling Quinlan that Devante's case is big news and will continue to be big news for months, asking Quinlan to just focus on that. After Adaku asks Quinlan to leave her office, Quinlan makes a call to Pacho, expressing how they need to talk. As Shelley stands by Jeremiah's side in the hospital, she sees him open his eyes. After telling her husband that she wasn't harmed after he was run over, Jeremiah asks Shelley if the kids know. She informs him how the kids have known all along. He apologizes to Shelley for not listening to her, understanding the mess that he has made for not telling the kids and not telling the police. She tells Jeremiah how he just needs to focus on getting better, expressing how thankful she is that he's still alive. He expresses how useless he feels being tied to a hospital bed while his family is in danger. Shelley reminds Jeremiah that she's capable of protecting the family while he's recovering. Most of all, Shelley states how they need to rely on God's protection. At the high school, Jay expresses to Vanessa how he can't believe that they're at school while their father is in the hospital. Vanessa reminds her younger brother how their mother wanted them to have a sense of normalcy. JJ reminds Vanessa how it's not normal to know that they have a target on their back. She points out how the police are looking into who ran their father over, telling him not to worry. Since the person who is after them hasn't been caught, JJ tells his sister how he can't help but worry. Vanessa reminds her younger brother that God will watch over them. JJ understands that, but states that it doesn't mean they should be sitting ducks. She begins to ask JJ what he plans to do. Frustrated, JJ states how he doesn't know, but knows that he can't sit around and do nothing. Reminding them of Papa's wisdom, Vanessa points out that JJ can pray, since that's all they can do at the moment. Ben Russo is surprised to see his younger brother Max in his office, asking why he's not at school. Max states how he didn't want to go. That piece of information is already clear to him, asking why he doesn't want to go to school. Max states how he didn't think he would get a lecture from Ben when he arrived. Ben assures his younger brother that he's not lecturing him, but warning him how skipping school won't help him win points with their parents, stating that when the school calls to tell them that he's not there, then they'll be worried. Max replies by telling Ben how he would know all about that. Understanding his brother's fear of the trial, he tries telling Max that he can't run away from his problems. The reply that Max gives is that Ben ran away from his problems by getting drunk and high. Ben asks Max if that's the road he wants to go down, warning his brother how that road only leads to pain. This causes Max to question why Ben relapsed on Christmas Day. Reluctantly, Ben admits to his younger brother that he felt an unexpected amount of pain and didn't want to feel any, acknowledging that he handled it the wrong way. Max wonders if AA actually helped him realize that, wondering if he never learned from the previous meetings. Ben states that when he picked up the bottle, he knew it was wrong, but didn't care. He goes on to tell Max how he has a bright future ahead of him, but has to fight his battles and not run away from them. What Max tells his brother is that he doesn't have the strength to fight. Even though Ben tries to assure Max that the family will stand by his side, Max states how the family can't secure his freedom. When the family visits Jeremiah, they're glad to see that he's getting better. Jeremiah expresses how grateful he is to be with them, then states how he needs to apologize. At first, Vanessa wonders what he has to be sorry for. Shelley adds that she and Jeremiah both need to apologize for not talking to them about the threats. Vanessa replies that she understands that they only wanted to protect them. Even though that's the case, Jeremiah and Shelley express how they shouldn't have kept them in the dark when they weren't oblivious like they thought, still wishing that both Vanessa and JJ would have told them what they already knew. Since the entire family is aware of what's going on, JJ asks his parents what the next step is. They reply that he and Vanessa don't need to worry about that, and that they know for sure that whatever happens next, God is still in control. Finnegan appears in Harley's hotel room at Theodosius's palace, but the adulterers are interrupted when Harley's son Alan knocks on her door. Alan questions if she's not happy to see him. Harley states how she's always happy to see him, but states how he didn't call to say that he was stopping by. Alan asks if that's such a surprise since they barely have spoken on the phone with one another, reminding her how she knows why. Harley understands, but Alan explains how that's what he'd like to talk about, asking his mother if they can speak in her room. Immediately, she tells her son no. Confused, Alan questions why. Lying to her son, Harley tells Alan that her room is messy, filled with scattered legal files, and that they can speak in the hallway. He tells his mother how he came to speak with her about Devante. Alan adds that she's still Devante's lawyer and shouldn't expect her to move out of the hotel, but tells his mother that he doesn't want Devante to get in the way of their relationship. Harley appreciates hearing that her son is willing to work things out. She goes on to tell Alan that she'll call him as soon as she cleans up her room. Once Harley goes back inside her room, Finnegan reveals that he heard everything, happy that she and Alan have made amends, but that it also seems like Alan would forgive her over anything. On the phone with Quinlan, Pacho asks her what she needs to speak about. She admits that she requested to Adaku about covering the rise of substance use. Pacho is angry that she took that risk, expressing how it was already a huge risk, telling Finnegan about Adaku, wondering if Quinlan wants a target on her back. Quinlan assures Pacho that Adaku wasn't suspicious, but states how Adaku shut her down and was adamant that she only focus on Devante. Pacho questions why Quinlan was trying to expose the rise of substance use in Valley Park. She answers that it would cause the public to wonder why there was such a rise in substance use after Kalu Danjuma's passing. But since Adaku dropped her request, she expresses how confused she is as to why she's so focused on placing Devante in the public eye when the two of them are supposed to be business partners. Pacho agrees, reminding her that Theodosius's palace has helped her product sales and knows that she'll lose a lot of money. He suggests that Adaku wants Devante out of the way to have Theodosius's palace all to herself. Quinlan agrees how that makes perfect sense, stating how she can't succeed. Pacho states how he still plans to let Devante hand him over the hotel and just needs to ensure that he continues to get close to Devante. Quinlan goes on to state how Adaku needs to be stopped before she has the chance to grow her organization. At the Russo estate, Gianni scolds Max, asking him what he thinks the court will believe if they find out that he's been skipping school. Once Gianni walks out of the room, Ulissa enters in, explaining that she heard some of the conversation. She wonders if he knows that the law could use the slightest bad decision against him. Max tells Ulissa that he doesn't need to hear her lecture. Ulissa states how she's only trying to help, wondering why it seems like Max no longer cares if he's found not guilty. Max states how he doesn't want to go to court. As soon as Ulissa tells him that she understands how scary it can be, Max states how he doesn't want to be at court and doesn't want to be here. Ulissa tries to tell Max that running away wouldn't do him any favors, reminding him how it didn't do JJ Dorval any favors. Max doesn't know how he can live on, knowing that he could go to prison and that could be the end of his future. She tries to assure Max that he doesn't know the future, but God does, encouraging him to rely on God. As for Max, he feels like he's done everything for God, even guilt over hooking up with Yvette, wondering if that's why God abandoned him. Ulissa tries to assure Max that God's arms are always open to those who come to him, sharing how different life, though it's hard, is with Jesus as her savior. She tries telling Max that being right with God isn't doing all the right things and what religion says, but getting to know God more. Even though Max understands that Ulissa is trying to help, he states how he doesn't want to hear it and would rather be alone. Once alone, Max calls someone asking how he can get in touch with Zeke Franklin, knowing that Zeke sells substances. Terry calls Isidore to tell him how she's at Theodosius's palace. Before he gets off the phone, he reminds Terry that he wants her to be convincing by showing emotion, expressing how they both know that showing compassion isn't her strength. Terry states that she has it handled, and then Devante approaches her. She tells Devante how she came to check up on him after hearing about Alan's online rant. Devante tells the doctor how Alan is just a reckless little boy who wants to run his mouth when he doesn't know what he's talking about. Terry questions if the live stream has affected the number of guests who have arrived at the hotel. He answers how the hotel business is tricky, but it's in his blood to handle bad press like this and make it profitable. In response to that, Terry tells Devante how she's willing to give a good word about the hotel to anyone she comes across. Terry states how she would have called to check up on him, but didn't know how to reach him. Devante begins to offer Terry a way of communication. She expresses how much she appreciates it. Once again, she calls Isidore to tell him that she's officially in. Quinlan arrives at Ben's office as he asks if she stopped by to ask if he's been attending his AA meetings and listening to their advice. She wonders how that is going. Instead of answering her question, Ben is certain that means she came in for something else, and then she tells Ben how Devante is more dangerous than he realizes, informing him that Adaku is Kalu Danjuma's daughter and that Devante is connected to her. He asks Quinlan what this has to do with him. Once again, Quinlan suggests that he hand Elvira's diary over to the police. believing that Pacho will have more than enough time to get close enough to Devante for Devante to hand Theodosius's palace over to him. Just like last time, Ben rejects the request. Quinlan, once again, reminds Ben how the diary could prove that Devante was lying and that Elvira wasn't the seducer. Ben replies that anyone with common sense would be able to see that. She states how the diary is the closest thing to physical evidence, asking him why he would risk losing this opportunity. He answers that once the police get a hold of Elvira's diary, then there is a huge chance that they would keep it forever, explaining how he already lost his aunt and won't lose the only thing he has left of her. Quinlan tries to express how she understands. Interrupting her, Ben tells Quinlan that she doesn't understand, reminding her how he really thought she did. But that changed when he found out that she was his father's mistress, asking her to leave and not ask about Elvira's diary again. Vivian enters Lorenzo Russo's office to hand him his coffee, which he appreciates, then sees that she's got a lunch of her own. She expresses that she ordered nachos for lunch. This causes Lorenzo to smile and mentions that nachos were his late daughter, Elvira's, favorite. Vivian tells her boss that the photos she saw of Elvira were beautiful, asking Lorenzo to see a photo of Elvira on his phone, which he happily agrees to do, reminiscing about his late daughter. He goes on to say how she would have been a good mother, seeing how she always took care of Benedict. But she was robbed of that chance. Vivian reminds Lorenzo that Devante Torres will stand trial and that Elvira will get justice. Even though that's true, Lorenzo understands how it won't bring Elvira back so that he can tell her how much he loves her, explaining that he told Elvira to behave herself, and wishes that he had the chance to tell his only daughter how much he loved her. Vivian tries to remind Lorenzo how he had no idea that would be the last time he saw Elvira. Before he gets emotional, Lorenzo appreciates the chance Vivian gave him to reminisce about Elvira, telling her that she can leave his office. Once he's gone, Vivian looks at a picture of Elvira, and it's revealed that she is Lorenzo Russo's illegitimate daughter. At the high school, Max approaches Zeke, who is surprised that he's taking the risk to buy substances from him with the trial coming up. Max expresses how he doesn't need Zeke to worry about that, but to sell him one specific product and wants all that he has. Zeke goes on to ask Max if he's ever bought substances before. Once again, Max tells Zeke that he's asking too many questions and can go somewhere else. Even though Zeke doubts that, Zeke hands Max the substances, asking him not to be stupid. Without saying another word, Max walks off. Then Yvette Mitchell approaches Zeke, asking him why he spoke with Max Russo. Max makes a call to Heidi, who asks Max what's wrong. He tells Heidi how sorry he is. Heidi asks if Max is apologizing for skipping school the other day. Max tells Heidi how he's always wanted to make her and Gianni proud of him. She tells her son that she is proud of him and that his father is proud. Max tells his mother bye and states that he loves her. Heidi lets Max know that she loves him too, and once the call ends, Yvette approaches Max, asking him why she saw him with Zeke Franklin. When Max tells Yvette that she shouldn't be seen with him, she expresses how Max isn't the sort of guy to hang around someone like Zeke Franklin. Max replies how that's none of her business, but wishes her the best in life, walking off, causing Yvette to be confused. Once school is finished, JJ and Vanessa are about to get on the bus, just as JJ explains that he needs to take a bathroom break. When Vanessa asks JJ if he can't wait, JJ asks his sister if she wants to risk him having an accident on the bus with her next to him. Disgusted, Vanessa tells JJ to hurry up, expressing how she can't wait to get her license. As soon as JJ goes into the bathroom, he sees Max in a zombie state, then is even more troubled when Max collapses. Can't get enough of the crazy world of In Times Like These? Then treat yourself to a binge watch of In Times Like These. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You're not ready for what's to come, but tune in anyway.